How you doing, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, whichever it might be. Today I'm having a look at the Asmus Collectibles Ace Ventura Shady Acres Edition. Just having a quick look at the box there. You can see we have a kind of funky art kind of image of Ace Ventura in his tutu, in the outfit he's wearing in Shady Acres, and Ace Ventura written across the top and Shady Acres Edition written at the bottom there. And on the side we have Ace Ventura Pet Detective 1/6 scale collectible, and then at the back we have kind of an image of what's on his business card in the movie, and a notice, a warning notice, and a thank you for choosing Asmus. So this guy comes with quite a few bits and pieces. Now if I can just get this box open without too much hassle, and while I do that, I will ask you guys to press that subscribe button if you feel like keeping up with the content and interested in seeing more of this kind of content, and kind of get this all open. There we go. We have a really nice image of the figure itself sitting on the Finkel box on this card, on the outlay card, and then we are presented with the door to the storeroom that Ace Ventura enters in that particular scene. And then we have the two boxes that he comes with, the Finkel boxes. There's two versions of it. We'll go through them a bit later on. And then if I pull this card down, we have Ace Ventura himself, and behind that we have even more accessories. So let's get it all out of the box and give him a quick pan before we get into the details. And here we are for a quick pan of the figure before we get into the accessories, and just a few fun facts while we do this pan. First choice to play Ace Ventura was not Jim Carrey. He was actually fourth choice. Rick Moranis was first choice, and there was also Judd Nelson from The Breakfast Club, and Alan Rickman was also a choice. I'm not sure who was second and third choice between Alan Rickman and Judd Nelson, but they all turned it down, and the producers were considering making Ace Ventura a female character because they were struggling to find a male character to take on the role of. So they considered making Whoopi Goldberg Ace Ventura, believe it or not. And then one of the producers was watching the show in living color one day and seeing Jim Carrey in action, and instantly said, that's our guy, that's the man for the job. So they got Jim Carrey on board, and Jim Carrey actually helped to rewrite the script. It was given a complete overhaul to be more fitting for Jim Carrey's kind of humor. So they went through the script, and Jim Carrey had a huge input on the rewrites. And in 2017, a reboot was considered of Ace Ventura, starting it all over again. And then in 2021, Amazon said they were working on a possible third installment with Jim Carrey in it. So there we have it for some fun facts while we do the pan. So moving on, we will get into the accessories. And here we have all of the accessories that come with the Ace Ventura Shady Acres Edition. And I'm going to go through them all one at a time, I suppose. So we'll start off with the hands, or the arms should I say. And here we have the arms. We'll start off with the jointed ones, and you can see they are painted quite differently from one end to the other. Because the sleeve cuts off here, they haven't bothered putting any details in the top of the arm, and they have put a few more details in the forearm section. But the only downside to it is the absolute inaccuracy of the colour matching for the hands is way off. Diabolical on Asmus's behalf, and it renders these arms completely useless because the color tones are so off. And then we have these arms here, which in typical Asmus style you get a pair of seamless arms, and it is an upgrade from the old ones that they used to do, where they just put this kind of soft rubberish kind of sleeve or vinyl sleeve over a skinny version of the seamed arms, and you couldn't pose them, you couldn't bend them without them warping and misshaping, and they used to look horrible. These particular ones also come on the last iteration of Ace Ventura from Asmus Collectibles, but they're not perfect. They are a step up from the old ones, but you can see that the bend is really unnatural on them. there's just a curve, and it's really unnatural bend. Nice try, Asmus, but no cigar. I wish they would focus on either getting these ones right or these ones right, rather than stretching themselves out to, doing a set of each. They've got 2 sets of bad arms. They should try and focus on 1 set of good arms, really. And then we have his hands, complete carbon copies of the previous Ace Ventura that they released last year. Absolutely nothing different about them. Open palm gripping hands, some gesturing hands, couple of gripping hands. We have a pinky finger styled hand here, and some more kind of gesturing hands, as you can see. So not bad. I've seen worse. Like I said, completely different color to the arm, which is a mega letdown, but there we are for the hands. A nice selection, I might add. And then we have his football, his American football that comes with him, which is quite iconic for that particular scene. Not a bad mold. It's a solid plastic mold, and it does have some details in it, and you can see there where there isn't even the detail of where you would pump it up. So it's not a bad old mold. Nice texture to it as well. It is warped and looks like a deflated or punctured American football. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'm assuming it is. Nice bit of detail on the laces and that, and like I said, the texture. The only downside is that they did not provide a pair of hands for gripping the ball. These are the closest hands we have for gripping the ball, and they're just not good enough. They don't quite do the job. So they could have molded a pair of hands for gripping the ball, but they didn't. So bit of a letdown there. So we just have to deal with that. And then next up we have his newspaper from the part where he finds it in the storeroom. And you can see it has some nice detail in it, some nice print on it there. All the correct texts, well, most of the correct text. The only mistake I can find, I'm not sure if the screen is picking up on this or not, but it says search called off for missing player. Now, if anybody remembers the movie, I think it said search called off for missing hiker. If my memory serves me correct, it didn't say missing player. So that's the only kind of downside to it. But some nice print to it, some nice details. The newspaper in the movie was a bit more ripped and worn than this, but I'll forgive them for that. And then we have Finkel's diary, Ray Finkel's diary. It looks the part. It looks just like it did in the movie, diary written on the front, and it does have some real pages in it along with some molded pages. And on the inside there, you can see, if I can get this to just come down a little bit, it does have the accurate laces out scribbles on it, just like it did in the movie. And not all of the pages have it, just a couple of the pages have it, and those real pages are actually loose. They do just kind of fall out, so have to be careful with them. But it's nice that they have the accurate print on the pages there, and it's a nice little touch. And then we have the isotoners, or as Asmus have called them, isoloners. And I think it's hilarious that they put a 1/6 scale hand on the packaging, which is quite funny. But anybody who remembers the scene knows that Jim Carrey picks them up and does say isotoners and not isoloners. And again, a 1/6 scale on the back of the packaging, which is quite funny. But yeah, nice addition, nice little bit of detail. So there we go. And then we have the embroidery pieces. I'm really having trouble with focus today. Yeah, the Die Dan embroidery pieces, as in Dan Marino. And again, a nice little addition to have them. Pretty much everything that seems to be in the Ray Finkel box in that particular scene, other than the hoodie, is here. I think there was an orange hoodie in the box as well. And then we have the Ace Ventura Pet Detective business cards. Same with the last iteration. Nice to have them. Nice bit of detail on them. They look decent. And then we have the second head sculpt that comes with him. And we'll look at this a bit closer later on, because it is updated to the last one they brought out. The paint apps are far superior. It is the same sculpt. I did just glance at it earlier on and thought it was a different sculpt, but I think it's just the paint applications. But like I said, we'll have a side by side with them later on, and we will have a look at the difference in the sculpt. And as far as I can tell there, the paint applications are far superior on this kind of updated version. And it's nice that we get this head sculpt as well, because anybody who has the version 1, the version 2 Asmus Collectibles Ace Ventura, those head sculpts were absolutely diabolical. So anybody who has those can get the Shady Acres one and pop this head sculpt onto their version 1 or version 2 Ace Ventura by Asmus, and not have to go out and buy another original Ace Ventura or the newer, you know, version of it. So it's really, really smart and nice of Asmus to put that in with this figure. So there we have it for the accessories. So moving on, and we'll have a look at the Ray Finkel boxes that are in the storeroom in this scene. One complete box with all of Finkel's bits and pieces in it, and one broken box for the part where he tries to hide in the box when the cleaner is coming into the storage room. Complete box. You can see there's a lot of scuffing and that on the bottom of it, but it doesn't really make much sense because it's going to be sitting like that if you do have the complete box. It does have a bit of scuffing around the sides of it as well, and Finkel's name quite accurately written and placed in the right places. Unfortunately, it doesn't really sit correctly. The only way you could use this box is to put a bit of tape on it there just to keep it all together. I've folded it over and got it as best I can, but you would ideally, if you're going to use it, just put a bit of tape along the bottom of it there just to keep it all together. But it is fit for purpose. It's a decent quality cardboard, you know, it's not flimsy or anything. Then we have the broken box for after he, like I said, tries to climb in it and splits it. Again, on the bottom of it there, all the scuff marks on it and all around the sides of it, and Finkel markings all in the right places, as you can see, and written quite accurately. And the idea of this one is to basically get your figure and just pop him kind of lying flat in the box, just like that scene where he tries to, like I said, hide in the box, and just put him kind of sitting in the box like so. I'm not sure how many people would be posing like that. I know I certainly won't, but it is an option. It's a funny option to have, and you know, it's definitely something different, and you can scatter all the accessories around it as well, I suppose. Not something I'll be doing. Might be a bit gimmicky, but it's definitely different, and it's a nice option to have if you so choose to pose them that way. And then we have the base that he stands on, or the stand, with Ace Ventura Pet Detective written on it. And unfortunately, the print is really poor. It's really dull, and it's kind of that would rub off very easily. It's not great. It is what it is. And then we have the wooden floor effect from the Shady Acres Hospital, which I'm not sure how accurate that is, to be honest. I wasn't looking at the floors in the scene, so I can't quite remember how accurate that is. And then we have if I can get it off, we have a waist grabber for it as well. Quite a cheap waist grabber, to be honest, but it does the job, I suppose. So there we have it for his stand, or his base. And then this is a nice little addition to the figure. This is a cardboard cutout backdrop of the storeroom door that Ace Ventura goes into, and you can see it's just a cardboard cutout. It does have a plastic molded door handle on it there that just attaches by magnet on the other side, and it just hangs off of this plastic kind of mount, which is put together with these little clips. Comes in two different parts. It has this little stand that it slots into, and it just hangs as a backdrop, and is definitely a nice little addition, nice little backdrop to put Ace Ventura standing in front of if you so choose to use it, or you could use it with other figures. And here we have Ace Ventura himself And starting off in my usual fashion, I suppose, from bottom to top, we'll have a look at his footwear or his boots. And he does have the movie accurate boots on him. The tongue is kind of hanging loose and the laces not quite tied up as they were in the scene. Some dry brushing over them as well to give them a bit of scuffing. Not too bad, not a bad mold. They're fit for purpose. They do the job. There's a mold on the sole of them as well with a little bit of paint on them, which looks the part. And the eyelets and the stitching is molded in, and it's done reasonably well. I'm not underwhelmed by them. Then we have his black socks that go up to his knees, and then you can see there he has seamless legs, which is just a sleeve put over a jointed leg, you know, like Asmus does a lot of the time. And unfortunately, I don't know how accurate they are, but they look like a 90-year-old man's legs. They're not great, and when you bend the knee, you get this absolutely hideous joint exposure. Just deforms and looks terrible, so you are a bit limited with articulation with that sleeve over them, which is a bit of a nuisance, a bit of a letdown. We do have his movie accurate shorts on. They look the part. They're made out of kind of a, not bad out, it's like a polyester. They do the job. Like I said, movie accurate pattern on them. They look the part. And then I'm going to bring the lights down a little bit just to come down to his tutu and his shirt. Again, the tutu looks accurate enough. It might be not puffy enough. The tutu he was wearing was quite puffy. It's made of this net kind of material, but it does look the part. I'm quite satisfied with it. It has a button up at the back of it there. If you can just see there's a little press stud there that buttons it all up together. And like I said, just slightly under puffy. It's puffy enough, it does the job, but I think the one he was wearing in the movie was really, really puffed out, you know. And then we have his movie accurate shirt with the movie accurate print on it. Looks the part. The pockets might be a little bit oversized. The stitching is slightly oversized as well. What would you expect from a third party figure, to be quite frank? Again, it looks the part, it does the job, and you can see the print extends all the way around to the back. And the sleeves are the right length. They look about the right length as well. And it is buttoned up by press studs. And I'll just undo them there real quick while we have a look at the underneath of the shirt, what's on underneath. I'm having trouble with focus today. There we have his vest underneath, which I think he's wearing in the movie, a vest underneath it. And it does have a bend in the torso area, which isn't too bad. Very small, very light, cheap body, to be honest. But again, what you expect from I say third party, it's not third party, but you know, from Asmus. I'll say from Asmus. But let's get this guy a bit closer and have a look at this head sculpt. And here we have the Shady Acres Ace Ventura head sculpt. And the first question is likeness. Does it look like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura in 1994? And my answer to that is almost. It almost looks like him. And I think the real problem with this is the expression. I think the expression is all wrong. If I recall correctly, he doesn't actually make this expression in that scene. I can't quite 100% remember, but I don't recall him making that cheesy grin. It's not iconic for me. I don't remember the big cheesy grin. I do remember his face contorting and twisting and making crazy expressions, but I don't remember this expression at all. The scene that stands out the most for me is where he's first introduced to the doctor, where he says, "Let's execute a button hook pattern in super slow-mo." I think that's the most iconic part of that scene for me, and I think they could have made that expression, you know, of his face contorting. It would have been difficult to do, but I don't recall him making this stupid open mouth smile. And I think that that's the problem with this sculpt. It's just not accurate. But he does have the accurate hairstyle for when he was doing that scene. His hair was quite wild. It was quite styled, quite crazy. And let me bring the light up just for the hair, and you can see that it's not molded exceptionally well. Sorry, it's molded okay, but just lacking in detail. There's not a whole lot of depth to the mold of the hair. There's a couple of parts that have rubbed in the box and the paint has come off just a little bit, but you can see it's in separate sections there as well, and we will get into that in just a moment as to why those separate sections are there. It does kind of go a little bit light in colour in this area here as well. It's a little bit lighter than it should be, that blend from the skin tones into the hair, you know, and you can see it does go into the darker colours. You can see, I think the camera's picking up on the tips of it there, the paint is rubbed off. But yeah, just a little bit light in the blend tones. Not the most depth on the hair, unfortunately. But it is accurately styled, I'll give it that. It is accurately styled, you know, crazy style to it. The reason why the hair is split or sectioned off is because you can take the faceplate off. And for the first time in my experience with Asmus, we have rolling eyeball function for an Asmus collectible. I've never seen this before. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time doing the rolling eyeball function. Now you can see that they're not accurately placed, you know, but it is a step in the right direction for Asmus to actually start using a rolling eyeball function. And like I said, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this is the first figure that they've done with rolling eyeballs, and it is a welcome addition to their lineup. And it doesn't look too bad. The eyes aren't too far sunk in, they're not too big like some other figures that have rolling eyeball function. So, you know, they're reasonably well done. You know, I'm not upset with them. I was actually surprised to see it, but I just think the expression, they've almost captured Jim Carrey, almost. But like I said, I just think the expression they used is the problem, not the likeness, if that makes any sense. They should have used a more contorted expression, you know, something a bit more accurate to the scene in the movie. I think the teeth are done quite well, to be honest. It's a step up from their previous ones. The second edition of them was very, very goofy. But yeah, not a bad attempt from Asmus, but it's definitely lacking in accuracy and, like I said, the expression, but not a bad attempt. And here we have the last Ace Ventura that Asmus put out for us, and anybody who's seen my review for it, I will put a link in the description and a card in the corner. It does come with 2 outfits, so it is nice to have this second head sculpt, so I can, you know, actually build a kit bash of the second outfit on him. But what we'll do now is we'll put the 2 head sculpts beside each other, and we'll have a look at the newer head sculpt and the newer updated paint applications, which I think I'll be using that head sculpt for this figure. And here we have them side by side, and you can see that the one on the left was the one that came with the figure, and the one on the right is the one that has come with the Shady Acres edition. And the paint applications on the Shady Acres one is far superior. He's too speckled on the one on the left. His hair colour is brown, more of a brown than a black, and inaccurate. I almost thought it was a different sculpt, but even looking at the teeth there as well, they're more accurate and whiter. His teeth were really white in that movie. It's a way more accurate depiction of Jim Carrey or Ace Ventura than the one that actually came with the Ace Ventura figure, the one on the left. The one on the right there, the newer updated paint applications, is far, far superior. Even the sideburns are painted like he almost looks like a ginger in in the one on the left. Even the speckling kind of, it's overdone, so they kind of look like freckles as well. So the updated paint applications are far superior. So there we have it for the Asmus Collectibles Ace Ventura Shady Acres Edition. Not a bad attempt. If you're a fan of the movies, you know exactly who it is. If you're a fan of Ace Ventura, you know exactly who it is. I would ask you to please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for future content. So with that said, take care and see you in the next one.